But with the move down on Bitcoin, that did give me some opportunities to buy some more high yield ETFs as those were down. So I did pick up some shares of that. And I also sold a put on CRDO to make some easy money in just a couple days. Hello, my friends, this is Legend. So, as you can see, we are looking at Bitcoin and it has come down. We are now sitting around 76.6. Now, this line that we had drawn in right here at this 77.7, we were hoping it was going to come down. It did test that line. We were hoping it was going to continue to move on up, basically use that 77.7 as a support line, but it did not. Right? It actually ended up breaking down below that 77.7 and it came on down and it actually ended up breaking the next line that we had drawn in here at 76. It is currently up above it and it has not shown a full candle under this 76. So I don't consider that line yet broken, but it has definitely dropped down below it a couple times already. We did test it right here and bounced off of it, but then yesterday we did break down below it, closed, but then the next day we started moving back up. So I don't consider the 76 yet broken, but it is definitely being challenged. But as you can see, this 77.7 will now be a new resistance line. And you can tell right here how those candles are just landing right on that line, right? You can see right here, it closed right there on the line and it opened on that line, but yet moved down, right? Because at that point, it was breaking down below that 77.7. So hopefully we can start moving this back up, test that 77.7, and I hope that we can break back past it again to start moving back up and hopefully move this 77.7K back into that support line area versus that resistance. But as you can see, Bitcoin has had a bit of a pullback here lately. So currently the 76 is still our support line, and now the 77.7 is our new resistance line for Bitcoin. Now with this pulled back on Bitcoin, that of course has also caused Mr. to pull back some, right? So it's coming down. And of course, if Mr. is coming down, so is MSTY, right? So MSTY we have broke back down. We're sitting at around 22.72 on MSTY. But that's understandable since Bitcoin is definitely pulling back some. Now, hopefully after this holiday weekend, we can have Bitcoin moving on back up and therefore bring our MSTY back up as well. Let's take a look at a few other those high yield ETFs just to get a feel of where they currently are. We got AMDY right here, and you can see they did have a nice pop-up on Friday. That is a nice move up. Now, granted, it did end on a red day, but look at this pop from this close of 52.19 to an open of 53.77. So that's a nice overnight pop-up, and I'm hoping to see this one to continue moving on up as AMDY sure has been paying out very nicely along with the distributions, right? Looks like we're going to get 97 cents this week as well. That's a very good distribution. I don't mind that at all. For CONY, we've been pulling back a little bit on this one as well. I did end up purchasing some shares. I actually bought some shares on May 18th. Okay. And I also actually ended up buying some shares before the market opened on that Monday. I bought them Sunday night on the 17th. So I was able to actually purchase on May 17th after hours, and I picked those shares up at $25.60. And then on the 18th, I actually picked up a few more shares at $25 even. Now it looks like on Friday, we actually did break below 10 on that RSI 2, and I wish I would have saw that because I would have purchased a few more shares. and I would have been able to get those around $24.60, right? That'd have been a nice little purchase to help bring down my real price per share. But I honestly did not get the check on Friday, so I did miss that purchase. But on that Sunday night, the 17th, and the Monday of the 18th, I ended up purchasing a total of 20 shares on CONY, so I'll take that for sure. On HOOY, I ended up purchasing some shares on HOOY on the 19th, and that's this candle right here. And you can see this RSI2, it was right there on 10. So I ended up purchasing some shares at $26.90. And that was a total of about 10 shares on HOOY. So that'll help bring down my real price per share as well. And then of course we do earn that distribution, and those distributions helps to bring down my real price per share as well. So each time that I buy that's under my real price per share, it's helping to bring down my average. And each time I earn that distribution, it also brings down my average. So it is working for me. And I'm still working to get my real price per share down closer to the actual price of HOOY, so that whenever it decides to start moving back up, I've got less distance for it to move before I am in the green. For SMCY, we've had a good little pop-up on SMCY, as you can see. Look at that. I did purchase some shares of SMCY, and I got those on 5/18, and that's this candle right here. And you can see on that day, that RSI2 is 8.9. So it was below 10, and it was a red day. So I did make a purchase of SMCY shares, and I got a total of 25 shares at $6.08 per share. So that will help to bring down my real price per share. And looky, it actually moved back up. It's sitting at $6.57. So we'll get to see what that does to my real price per share when we enter that into my spreadsheet. And I'll be updating my spreadsheet tomorrow. I'll enter in all of those buys, and I will enter in those distributions to find out where I currently sit. So that's about what's going on with the high yield ETFs and the moves that I did make this week. But one other move that I did do was a sold put on CRDO, and that's CRDO, and that's this stock right here. Now this one here is definitely more volatile, so definitely be more cautious, but this thing has just been on fire. And if I zoom out, you'll see what I mean. And here we are. Look at this. This was toward the end of March, the 1st of April, and it was sitting around this $86. And look at it now. It's sitting at $218. Now, I had actually sold a call on 100 shares that I had. And I had that call sold and set at $135, right? Because it started moving up. So I went ahead and I sold a call at $135. Well, this thing is now sitting at $218. And my call expires next week. And I have been moving it up because originally it was around 130. I bumped it to 132, and now I'm sitting at 135. And I will see if it makes sense to bump it up a little bit more or not, right? I have to do the math to find out if that is going to pay me out in premium enough to make sense to roll it out. I own those shares at 129, so selling them for 135, that's still going to be a $600 gain plus all the premium I've earned just by holding CRDO. Now that's the one that I have existing and I still have open, but the one that I did this week was off of this drop right here. If we zoom in a little bit just so you can see this drop right here, I ended up selling a put when we had this drop. And I sold it off of this candle right here. We had a huge drop, and as you can see right here, the RSI2 is sitting at 2.8. Now that close was around 156, okay? Now I sold a put for 135. And yes, I had a call out at 135 on that previous. That's still open. So this is a different trade, okay? This was a put at 135. And what that means is if that stock drops below 135 at any point, I could get assigned those shares, okay? And I would have to pay 135 per share times 100 shares. So I sold that put on this day, and that paid me $1.40 times 100 shares because each contract is worth 100 shares. So that's $140 on the 18th. And what was the expiration date? That expiration date was for that coming Friday, the 22nd. So this contract was only good for a few days, okay? I sold it here and it was to expire on this day. But what did I do? Well, it fell right here, right? So I sold that put, got paid $140, and the next day you can see it actually dropped more, but then started moving up. Okay, so it moved up on this next day, and it moved up again on the 20th. And on this 20th, when we had this move up, I went ahead and I was actually able to buy that contract back. So I sold to open it, and I bought to close. And why did I buy this back at this point? Well, because I was able to close that trade, or in this case, this option, I was able to close it for just 15 cents per share. So that's 100 shares, so that's $15. So I earned $140 to open it, and 2 days later, I was able to close it for $15. So what does all that mean? Well, if I got paid $140, right, on that 18th, and then I paid to close it, but I paid 15, so I can subtract the 15 from that 140, means I made $125 in just 2 days. Now that is some great money. Now, I could have held that contract all the way up to expiration, and it would have expired worthless. Means I would have kept the full $140 and I would not have to pay anything back. So why did I end up paying to close it? Well, because this pop-up right here, I was hoping that I can close it for 15, and the next day, rather than it moving on up, I was hoping it was going to move back down some, right? After this huge pop-up, I was hoping it was going to move down. I would actually be able to sell another put, earn more premium, and have that expiration date would have probably been for the next week, right? And that probably could have got me maybe $300 or something like that. And that would have been some good money. And then if we had another pop up, I can buy that one back for pennies on the dollar. So therefore, I can just get in, get up, and get out and not ride these to expiration, because this stock, CRDO, is very volatile. And I can be in and out of it in just a matter of a few days. And if it pulls back down, I get right back in, right? So that's kind of what I've been doing with CRDO when it does offer those opportunities. And on that 18th, when we dropped below that 10, I took advantage of that, and it definitely worked in my favor because I made $125 in just 2 days with only $135 per share, or $13,500 total that was somewhat invested, right? Because I had a sold put, so they held that money aside so that if I was assigned those shares, that money would be used to buy those shares. But $125 divided by 13,500, that gives me almost 1%, and that was just for 2 days. So if that was just for 2 days, to find out what that would have actually paid me per month, percentage-wise, right, just to project it out, I can simply take that, divide it by 2, because it was for 2 days, so that takes it down to 1 day, and then take that times 30 days, right, for the month. And that would have been 13.8%, in a month. And that's a month, right? Well, what's that per year? Take that times 12. And that is 166%. Now that is projected out. That is not what I made, right? That is just using this particular option that I did and projecting it out to see if I did that every time, that would be 166% for the year. That's insane. Now, I can't do that every day, right? But it's just to show you how much, if you actually project it out, what kind of money you're looking at. And the percentages on these are insane. But like I said, CRDO is a bit more risky, so definitely do your own homework and decide if it's something right for you or not. But right now, with CRDO moving up, I would be waiting for it to pull back down, and then I would try to do it yet again. Now, I'll do this with CRDO for at least another month or two, but after that, I don't see me holding CRDO long term. But while it's paying, I'm playing. So I just kind of wanted to give you an update of what happened this week and some of the moves that I did make and some of the ideas and plans that I'm working on. Now, I'll update those spreadsheets this weekend, so definitely stay tuned for that. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. If you don't mind, hit that subscribe button and smash the like button, as would be much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, Legend out.